and we are continuing our coverage of the 130th Supreme Convention of the Knights of Columbus. Kevin Ellis along with Father Robert Reed, and we have a very special guest with us right now, Archbishop Joseph Kurtz of Louisville, Kentucky, and thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, Kevin, Father Reed, so good to be with both of you, absolutely, in sunny California.
That's right.
Yes.
we love sunny California.
How fortunate are we?
Exactly.
Maybe we could just start off. We're here at the Knights Supreme Convention, and maybe your relationship with the Knights over the years of a ministry that you experienced and their presence in the church.
Thanks, Kevin. I have a very personal interest because you may not know this, but I had an older brother who had Down syndrome, my brother George.
Oh, yeah.
And the Knights of Columbus made his religion alive in his life. He became a first degree Knight of Columbus in 1981, fourth degree in 1986. And whenever our family got together, I would try to get them to talk about me being a bishop and whatnot. But they all wanted to talk about Georgie and the Knights of Columbus. So he was my sponsor when I became a fourth degree Knight of Columbus. So it's hard for me to think about the Knights without thinking of my brother George. Our mother died in 1989 and Georgie died in 2002. So really for 12 years I served as legal guardian for George. He and I lived together in rectories, and he moved down to East Tennessee when I became the bishop there.
Nice.
So I just can't say enough about the Knights of Columbus. Of course, both in Tennessee and in Kentucky, we have very vibrant Knights of Columbus, as we had in Pennsylvania. And so it's been just a joy to support men and their families, their spouses, who are faith-filled and committed, who understand what it means to live their faith and to put into action. In fact, I think that's one of the notable things of the Knights of Columbus, is putting their faith into action.
Yeah. There's such a tremendous spirit here at the Supreme Convention every year, and you can feel it, and I hope that the television audience is feeling it too. I can see it on your face.
Yeah.
You as an archbishop, with your brother bishops and cardinals and the many priests who are here, and we so appreciate the work of the Knights among us.
It really is, and also we don't want to underestimate the fact that my brother bishops who are from Canada and from Mexico and other parts of the world, the Philippines, it gives you a global sense of the work of the church. I guess there are many ways we can talk about the global presence of the Catholic Church, but really the Knights of Columbus is one of the best examples of that. I just heard Archbishop Vigano talk about he read the message of our Holy Father, and I was amazed at the fact that our Holy Father talked about engaged laity, informed laity, and articulate laity as being part of the new evangelization. And so, gosh, the Knights of Columbus, I would have to say, as a pastor and also as a bishop, they're a gold mine. I mean, they have all the potential.
Good way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. And you've been in Louisville now just almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. Been really pleased to serve as the Archbishop in Louisville. And as we were talking earlier online, 8 years before that, I was the bishop in East Tennessee, in Knoxville. And so I've really had 13 blessed years to serve as a bishop, all in the same province, which is really great.
And I know you've been involved in the past, too, with the Bishops' Conference with marriage and family, and how important the Knights of Columbus is in that endeavor, too, sort of be a witness to that.
It is, Kevin. I serve now. I was elected 2 years ago as the vice president, as you said, of the conference, and so I'm deeply involved now in all aspects. But before that, my emphasis was especially on the pastoral letter on marriage, as well as the ad hoc committee in defense of marriage. In both of those initiatives, the Knights of Columbus were superb in their support, and also in implementing. You know, a lot of times we'll have documents that you print them and they gain dust on a shelf or something. And the Knights of Columbus have a way of engaging and putting people and things into action. Their monthly magazine, etc. Yeah.
Father McGivney would be so proud.
Well, I was thinking of that when Carl Anderson said at the very beginning of his remarks that all of us in the room are heirs of the legacy of Father McGivney. I thought it would blow his mind to think of the vastness of the presence of the Knights of Columbus, the legacy, their history, and yet it struck me very comfortable with the charism that remains true, living the faith, reaching out to people in need, as we talked about earlier, promoting, in a sense, religious liberty as a gift that needs to be used for others, not as a personal gift, but rather as a way of being able to maybe put our faith into practice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, evangelization has certainly been a theme, the many interviews we've had here today and the talks that are being given to the Knights. And the Synod of Bishops is coming up this fall in the Year of Faith, and you're one of the delegates.
I am. I'm really privileged. I'm privileged that our Holy Father appointed. We have an election, and there's suggestions really to our Holy Father. So that appointment came, I guess, in May, and I was really happy to join 3 other bishops: Cardinal George, Cardinal Dolan, of course, and Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Sear from San Antonio. In many ways, I was talking this weekend in masses, and I told people with the new evangelization that at first I thought, well, that means that all of us need to go out and bring back lukewarm Catholics. And I've changed my mind. And I was on vacation, and I thought, no, really, it's almost a privilege to be part of the new evangelization. In order to be effective, we need to have people who've already encountered Christ to be able to share something they already have. And so in some ways, I think I'm changing my mind within the Archdiocese. I think I'm going to begin to almost say, if you're not properly engaged and prepared, then you're not going to be a good witness.
No.
You're not going to attract anybody. No, and if anything, you're going to just badger people. So I like this idea of the words that our Holy Father gave to the Knights of Columbus about being, first of all, engaged in an experience of Christ, informed that we know what we're talking about, and then articulate. So I'm kind of excited about, I guess, learning, and who knows, maybe I'll contribute something. Yeah.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
And we've been talking too, and you mentioned it too, about the issue of religious liberty and how important that is and we've been talking about that throughout the course of the day as well. But maybe if you could speak on that, and you had the setback with the Supreme Court decision, but where do we go from here, and how does that?
Well, of course, now remember, with the Supreme Court decisions, there were 2 decisions, as I understood it, that simply said that the issue was not ripe. Mm-hmm. But in the case of in Colorado of the firm, actually, there where the application was immediate, it was seen as something that involved needing more information and needing more study. So I think in that sense, we did get the attention of the courts. Basically, I think one of our biggest problems is the fact that we need to make sure that we are good, let's say, advertisers for religious liberty. Sure. In some ways, I think religion has gotten such a bad name. People are almost seeing religion as something to be blamed for the ills of our society. In fact, as you well know, I'm preaching to the choir here, it is the living out of our faith that happens after we leave Mass that not only is a nice extra, but it's an essential part of living our faith. And so that distinction of saying, well, you're free to worship, but once you leave church, keep it private, it goes to the very core of what religion is about, and it vitiates our ability to live Christ. I think in some ways this is, as hard as it is and as much of a cross as it is, especially to many Catholics, it is an opportunity, because in many ways it's a chance for us to stand up for important things that we believe in. In Louisville, every time I've had a chance, I've always used the 3 C's. I've said, when you become public, always be courageous, compassionate, and civil. And if we can embody those 3 C's of being courageous in speaking out on our faith, but in a way that is understanding of the struggles that people go through, but always civil, so that we don't get into a shouting match or you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I think, however, that we need to be persistent in moving forward, and I'm just pleased with the unity of our bishops, because I think there is a united front of the bishops, and I'm really grateful for so many parishioners, certainly in Louisville, who have responded very well to the fortnight of freedom.
We're going to be speaking to the Supreme Knight too about civility, and we're looking forward to talking to him about that.
And civility should not be translated into a lack of courage.
Right.
And I think sometimes people see those as the choices. We need to do both.
And that's how we glorify the Lord in
Absolutely.
our lives. That dismissal now in the New Translation of the Roman Missal, go in peace, glorifying the Lord with your life. We can't do that without being civil and without being courageous
Exactly,
as well.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much,
Oh,
Archbishop,
thank
for
you.
being
Thanks,
us.
Father
It's a
Reed,
pleasure
Kevin,
talking
so
with
nice
you.
to be with you.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with more coverage of the 130th Supreme Convention of the Knights of Columbus from Anaheim, California after this.